Session 34 here is going to be going over length and area, and more frequently perimeter and area, especially for the rectangle. And then using algebraic expressions and formulas to try to determine the answer for problems based upon either the perimeter or the area. Okay, first of all, we have a rectangle here, and the basic formula for the area of a rectangle is A equals L times W. A means area, L means length, W means width. And then the perimeter formula for a rectangle is simply adding up the four sides together. So P for perimeter is going to equal your length plus your width plus your length again plus the width. Because remember, in a rectangle, opposite sides are the same length. So if this letter X represents your width, you also have the exact same length or width over here. And if this is your length, you have the exact same length up here as well. So those are the two formulas. Now, here's our question. If the perimeter of this rectangle here is 28 inches, what is the area of the rectangle? Well, before we address that, we're going to have to actually figure out what the length and the width is first. Because for our area formula, we're going to have to know what the length and the width are in order to calculate the area. Well, the clues that we're given so far is that the perimeter of the rectangle is 28, and then we know that the length is x and the width is x plus 6. So how do we attack this? First of all, let's find out what the perimeter is. Once we find out what the perimeter is, then we can write an equation to find out what the value for x is. And then once we find out what the value for x is, we can also find out what the length and the width are. And then once we find out what the length and the width are, we can calculate the area. So the first thing we're going to do is to calculate or determine what the perimeter is. Here's the length, here's the width. So our perimeter is going to equal our length. Well, what's our length? Our length is x plus our width. What's our width? X plus 6. That's only two sides. Remember, in the perimeter, you have to add all the sides together. So what's this side here? Well, that's also another width. It has the same value as this one. So that's also an x. So that's our third side. And then when we add our fourth side together, which is the top side of the rectangle, what's the length here? Well, it matches this one down here, x plus 6. That's what our perimeter is going to be. But in the question itself, it actually tells us what our perimeter is. It's 28 inches. So what I'm going to go ahead and do here is just erase the P for perimeter. Then I'm just going to simply write in 28. So we know that 28 is equal to x, which is side 1, plus x plus 6, which is side 2, plus x, which is side 3, plus x plus 6, which is side 4. Let's go ahead now and try to solve it for x. We have 28 again on the left-hand side. All our x's are on the right-hand side, so let's combine. And if you take a look here, every single thing that's here is being added together. Because of that, it does not matter which order we add things in. We're going to get the same answer. So let's start with the x's. How many x's do we have? Well, we have x plus x, that's 2x's. 2x plus another x is now 3x's. And 3x plus another x is 4x. So that takes care of all of our x's. That one's gone, that one's gone, that one's gone, and this one is gone. What are we then left with? Well, we're left with a positive 6 that's being added to another positive 6. So what is 6 plus 6? 12. So what we have here now is 28 equals 4x plus 12. We want to get the x's by itself. Our x term here, the 4x together is the x term, is being added to a 12. We need to undo that. So let's go ahead and subtract 12 from both sides. We subtract 12 from the right. We also have to come to the left and subtract 12. What is 28 minus 12? Well, that's 16. Over here on the right-hand side, what is 4x plus 12 minus 12? Well, the plus 12 and minus 12 cancel out to a 0. What's 4x plus 0? It's just 4x. We now have 4x equals 16. Even though our x term is by itself, or x 4 times x, the x literally itself is not by itself yet because it's still being multiplied by a 4. So how do we undo that multiplication? I'm just going to go over here and rewrite this real quick. We have 16 equals 4x, which is just what we had here, just rewritten. How do you get rid of the multiplication by 4? Well, you divide by 4. If I divide the right by 4, I have to come to the left side and divide it by 4 as well. What is 4 times x divided by 4? Well, that's just simply x. And then what's 16 divided by 4? 4. So we know that x is equal to 4. Is that the answer to our question? No, the question doesn't ask us what x is. The question asks us if the perimeter is 28, what's the area? Well, before we try to calculate the area, let's double check our numbers and see if the answer that we came up here of x equal to 4 works. So we're going to go ahead and stick it back into our formula up here for the perimeter. We have x plus 6 plus x plus x plus 6. Stick the 4 in. 4 plus 4 is 8. 8 plus 6 is 14. 14 plus 4 is 18. Let me back up. X is 4. 4 plus 6 is 10. So, excuse me, 4 plus 4 is 8. 8 plus 6 is 14. 14 plus 4 is 18. 18 plus 4 is 22. And 22 plus 6 is 28. Now, I was confusing myself there a little bit, but we did double check and find out that x equals to 4 is the correct value for x. To figure out area, we now need to know what the length and width are, and once we do, we'll multiply them together. Well, what is our length? Our length is x. Well, what is x? Well, x is 4. So we know that our length here is 4. X and 4 are the same thing. Okay, we now stick our value for x down in here into our length. What is our length? Well, our length is x plus 6. If we stick a 4 in there, what's 4 plus 6? 4 plus 6 is 10. So we know that our lengths are both 10. Now we can finally calculate the area for our rectangle. Our area formula is length times width. What is our length? 4. What is our width? 10. What is 4 times 10? 40. So our area here is going to be 40 square inches. Okay then. That's how you can take a geometric figure like that where they don't give you all the information. You can then use the system of creating equivalent equations, which we did here, to calculate out what the value of the variable is. Once we did that, we plugged that back into our lengths and our widths, and we were then able to figure out what the area was from there. Now, as a quick review, the perimeter of any object, that is an object whose all of their sides are straight lines, is found by adding them together, taking the lengths of the sides and adding them together. Then next, the area of an object, or a geometric figure, describes the amount of space that's on the inside of that figure. And the area formula for a rectangle is length times width. A standing for area, L for length, and W for width. Okay, that finishes up session 34.